traditions from Mexico that you
From Mexico. I
Yeah.
see. From Mexico, special traditions. Well, because I came to the United States of America when I was 5, so 1960, something like that. I didn't really get to keep my heritage. Also, my father put us in a neighborhood where it was mostly predominantly white people. I think we were like the only Mexican people there. I didn't get to really stay within my culture, so I went to a Catholic school and they said that I couldn't speak Spanish, I had to speak English. So basically, I kind of felt like being a Mexican person and speaking Espanol was something, I didn't want to get beat by the nuns with the ruler. So I soon quickly learned to speak English, and don't even have an accent, right? So a special tradition would be, I think, that Mexican people go to church on midnight of Christmas Eve, and they celebrate Christmas Eve more. So I still kept that tradition because I got to do it like 5 times before I moved to America. Once we came to the United States of America, we didn't really do that, and we started opening presents like everybody else on Christmas Day. I miss that. And there's a posada that happens Christmas Eve too. We don't do posada anymore.
I don't want to ask you anything that like seems racist.
It doesn't. If I'm a Mexican and you're asking me questions, that is my race, and it's not an offensive question.
Do you celebrate May 5th?
No, Cinco de Mayo was it was a group of farmers in a very tiny specific region of Mexico that they finally were fed up with the Spanish, and they picked up their, I don't know, rakes or whatever they had on them, pitchforks, and they just attacked them one day, and they drove them out of their town because they were kind of taking advantage. So it's not really the independence of Mexico, because we all know that September 15th and 16th, I believe, something like that. Sorry, I can't remember it now, I'm tired. But Cinco de Mayo is just basically a celebration that tiny, where the Mexico goes like this and there's a little crook. It's just right there, right above the Maya, part.
Like,
my dad's saying very, very well. Not that anybody's gonna raise a chunk out of me. I'll be beating your butt. Ready? You're not recording.
okay. How did
And now back to our program. Anyway.
What was it like in the Mexican household?
Sydney, thank you for asking me that very interesting question. A lot of people feel like, well, okay, let's say this. In a household, usually, there's an abuelo and an abuela, so grandma, grandpa, and then their children and their families and their wives and spouses and things. And it's like there's a lot of people.
The whole tree?
Not the whole tree, of course, because that would be ridiculous. But sometimes a lot of people live together because everybody has a specific job. For instance, when we lived in Mexico, my grandfather was not very well off, but he was like higher middle class. So everybody had a job. One of my aunts cleaned, the other one cooked. My grandfather went to work, and my grandmama did all of the laundry. When the kids got off of school, which I was so young I didn't get to go to school, but I was across the street at my mama's house, we would come over and all of us had chores. My mom would help with sweeping, and because of the way that the floors are, the houses are made out of cement and stuff. So they would, throw me a broom or a mop, and I would have fun helping out. When I was done, if my grandmother said, go to the curb and take the trash out, and I didn't feel like it, if I whined or anything like that, I would get in a lot of trouble. That's the difference, I think, between cultures, and even for me as a second-generation Mexican here, my children, because I didn't have very many things when I came to the United States of America, and we were very poor. I didn't have a Barbie and things like that until, my parents were able to afford that kind of stuff. But I didn't sass my parents back. If I were at school and my parents got a note or a phone call, there was a big price to pay in the form of, a whooping. They couldn't take away toys because I didn't have any, but that kind of thing. We got paddled, or sometimes in a very appropriate manner, with the chancla or the back of the hand or a spoon or something. And still, like in the classroom today too, I do most, I'm not going to say all, because you know, like a lot of people are changing their customs, but your Hispanic kids in school, like when I taught first grade, the kids were always respectful. The parents, if I called them, okay, we need to have a conference, yes ma'am, no, you know, yes ma'am, you tell us when ma'am, we'll be there ma'am, no problem ma'am. It was a big honor to, you know, like they treat you with so much respect, the parents do. And then the kids always were very compliant the next day. They probably couldn't sit, but they were very compliant. But my children too, I think I spoiled a little too much, and because I don't feel in my head sometimes that I identify with the Mexican culture, I probably spoiled my kids, and I'm not saying that our culture is our culture, that the American culture is like a bad or spoiled one. Parents love their children and they just want to spoil them, but I feel like the way children act in classrooms sometimes is disrespectful. I never wanted to be disrespectful or talk back because I know what it was going to cost me if I did, and I don't like to pay the price. So even to this day, even with strangers in a store, I'll bump into them, like, I'm so sorry, have a good day, whatever. I was taught to do that, please, thank you, that kind of thing. So I feel like the culture expects more of their children's behavior. Once you're 18 and you're out of the house, you know, arrivederci, you can do what you want, but my mom and dad, and I never would ever consider living with my mother and father. I was so happy, you know, to get out of the house. My mom and dad didn't feel like that was going to happen, like,
Didn't
tradition.
you marry Mr. Roger when you were like 17?
I was 16.
Did you move out then, or did you all still live?
No,
in
he had to come ask my dad, so that was a custom, you know, that we don't practice today much, maybe, I don't know. But my parents being Catholic, he had to go, because my dad wouldn't let me date anybody at 14 and 15, but he did have to ask permission to date me, permission to get married with me, and after we were married, after we got married on the wedding day, did I go pick up my bags and move in with my husband. I was never allowed to go to his apartment. No, my husband had an apartment. He was a partner in a company. He's 18.
And you were 16?
But I met him when I was 5 and he was 7,
Jake.
so we always like, you know, I'm gonna get married with that boy, and he had the cutest little freckles and a missing tooth, so of course, you know.
That's crazy. Like, you weren't allowed to date when you were 14 and 15, but got married when you were 16.
Yeah, because my dad wouldn't even let me hold his hand, and I'm like, I want to be with you forever. And he's like, I do too. Well, let's just get married. Okay, let's do it in the summertime when we're out of school. Okay. Now, if my child would have come to me, and I know it seems crazy, but remember, Mexican culture, my dad would have rather me leave the house in an appropriate, respectful manner than a non-appropriate, where my cousin was going out with boys and not coming home till late, and then she ended up having a baby before she got married, and it was a big scandal in our family. So my father was like, what, Roger wants to marry you? Yes, of course you can get married. I know, remember, this is in the 70s and 80s, so it's different. Times are different now, and it's the way our culture is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Can you pause? Or they call me a Hispanic because
Half country, half Spanish.
Well, no, it's just my family's my Rogers family is come over here and we're gonna sit by and talk about the fire, and I'm like, the fire, what, the fire?
The washing machine?
Yes, they're very country, and they're from, you know, some of them are from Kentucky, and
A
that's,
washer. It's not good. Is there anything someone has said to you that has made you feel like segregated against?
Yeah. No, I don't think so, because that when you let people make you feel bad about something, it kind of like you're giving them power by that, and nobody has power over me about that kind of stuff. I am who I am. That's who God made, and I feel like in God's eyes, everybody's beautiful and they're made exactly like they're supposed to be. But I believe if everybody would just be so accepting and loving of everyone, then I think it would be a better place. Just be kind. But no, nobody ever made me feel, oh, you know, no. I'm a hardworking person. It doesn't matter what color my skin is. Nobody's ever, hon. I mean, I married a white.
Never like experienced like some intense racial mixing?
Oh yeah, my mother-in-law, but she didn't want me marrying her son, and because, you know, they're not Mexican and they're like white people, and she was very racist, so of course she didn't want. She did say something, and I didn't let it bother me. But she said, when we told her we were going to get married, my mother-in-law said, "But what color are your babies going to be? Think about that before you marry her." And I'm like, "What color are they going to be? They're going to be beautiful. Who
They
cares?"
look like little baby eggs.
Yeah, I mean, green with purple polka dots.
They're all
I mean, I
gonna
don't
look
know.
the same on the inside.
Well, I mean, I'm being serious. I mean, I don't care if my child married, any culture or whatever, as long as my prerequisite is, or condition is that they love each other and they treat each other with respect. And I've never seen more respect on a person than Mr. Daniels. He's a wonderful person. I'm glad of that. He's my husband. He puts up with all my baloney. Or spam. Or frijoles.
That's all I ever get from Taco Bell.
Oh, I know, yeah. It's not real Mexican, but who cares? It's good.
You know they have like a hamburger there
No.
now? It's like a spicy meat hamburger. Jacob
No.
gets it. It's like
At Taco Casa?
yeah, and it's like on hamburger.
And it's a
buns.
hamburger?
I know.
What? Okay, I've been on keto for like 3 months, so I did not know that.